All right, buckle up now. Georgia's listed as a 28-point favorite over the Auburn Tigers, and before you get too bent out of shape about this, look, it's probably about right. The truth is that this is an Auburn team that's really struggling right now, and Georgia, one weekend to the next does not necessarily mean anything as it relates to betting and so forth, and really just as it relates to playing. That Georgia had to fight their way to a 26-22 win over Mizzou. I mean, Auburn had a hard time with them as well at home. But the key thing here is kind of interesting. This is the fifth time this season that Georgia's been at least a 25-point favorite. They are 1-3 in the against the spread in those games. The under has hit 7 of the last 8 times in Georgia's games, which is saying something about that defense. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION, y'all. 80 pages of the National Championship Commemorative Edition. This is an awesome gift. We couldn't offer it last Christmas and holiday season because they have not won the National Championship yet. Make sure you get this for your home or your office. If you want me to sign it, make sure you are telling me as soon as you buy it. Thanks to everybody who's watching these. We cannot do this stuff without y'all, so we appreciate that. I've just grown to learn that more often than not, Las Vegas knows what they're talking about. And the thing here is that Georgia is 1-3 in those big lines. Well, in the Samford case, they didn't get to. I mean, that was a huge line, and they did not play as well as you'd like. But that game was a running clock. It was the Missouri game that is I guess the most concerning. Specifically, the second quarter of the Missouri game and the third quarter of the Kent State game. Those are both the quarters that really have been problematic this season. I guess there was some point in the first 3 games where Georgia didn't play well. I don't know that I remember those moments. So that is something to keep in mind as well. I've gone off my AirPods. I'm going to get them back on. It sounds better, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, so the Dogs really are. That's a pretty heavy line. That's the biggest one that I can find in history. And to be such a significant favorite shows that the Larry Munsons of the world are always going to be concerned. And I think after this last 2-week stretch, there's reason for concern. Yes. Um, this is college football, or excuse me, this is sports. If you are not concerned about something, are you really paying attention? So I think this time a year ago, everybody was on pins and needles about Stetson Bennett, but you had such a good defense that he could kind of make his way through things. This season, the defense is still actually very good, I have to say, but now it is much more the Stetson show, and I feel like one thing Kirby said is, "Hey, maybe we're trying to make him, or maybe we're trying to tell Stetson to do too much." I mean, maybe I don't really know. I'm certainly not qualified to say that, but if they are, that means other guys are going to have to do more because here's the quote, and I can talk about this probably in another video. It says Stetson didn't play his best game. This is from Kirby. I think he'd be first to tell you. I don't know whether the atmosphere got to him. He kept his composure, but I was just going to intervene here. I do not. Actually do not think the atmosphere got him. I'm on the field and can see things. It didn't look like that to me. I just think he was off. I mean, anyway, Kirby goes on to say he was off for a while. He goes on to say he kept his composure. He led 2 really good drives down the field. Talking about in the fourth quarter, one drive before the last drive, he made some big time throws, no question. He missed some throws tonight, and I think he'd be the first to tell you that he didn't play his best game. And then this is the interesting part. He goes, "That's not all Stetson's fault. That's some of my fault, putting a lot on him on the road. That's some of Coach Monken taking some of that. We will take it as an offensive staff and a head coach and some responsibility of maybe we're asking him to do too much. I thought he did a good job of what he asked him to do. He does have to be more accurate. I mean, that's it. That's all. But the difference now is a season ago when Georgia was playing Auburn, and it really was Stetson's best game of his career at that point, the 34-10 win. Stetson played well, but he wasn't like sort of the spotlighted guy. Right now, he is on offense, and he has responded in a major way in games against South Carolina. Excuse me, against South Carolina as well as Oregon. But you know, he wasn't bad against Kent State, but they're off right now. And one thing that someone was saying to me on Sunday, Georgia might be still trying to figure out exactly what the best rotation is on the offensive line because a lot of guys are playing. You see Xavier Truss is in at right guard, excuse me, right tackle. I've seen obviously Warren McClendon, that's where he starts, but there's a lot of guys playing it. Will that narrow down? We saw we saw over time in the 21 season that they did narrow down and change things over the course of the season. Well, why wouldn't you? You've got 5 data points now with 80 plays, I guess. I don't know, in each game, something like that. So there's a lot more information now that they've got that they didn't have. But the offense line needs to play better. I mean, Tate Ratledge, I'm not picking him out particularly. I mean, Broderick Jones, there were some moments for him as well, but Tate had a rough go of it at times. But it's no one. I mean, now that I think about it and watching, most of the game, not all of it quite yet. You know, Broderick, Tate, um, Van Pran, they all had moments where they just it wasn't good enough. And I mean, when it is good enough, you'll know because you'll see the points on the scoreboard. And I think to me, in the fourth quarter of that Mizzou game, Georgia's offense said, "We're not losing," and well, the defense said it too, but they said we're not losing. And so then you take that and you move it forward towards the Auburn game. And you say, Auburn's got to play on the road. They have not won in Athens since 2005, I think. It's been a tough fight for Auburn since 2003 in Athens. And 7 was the blackout, and 9 was a game that was tight, but Auburn could have won. I mean, but they didn't. And 11 they get blown out. In 14 they basically get blown out, 34 to whatever it was. In 16 they get upset as a top 10 team. In 18, Georgia just kind of routine Auburn. That was not some sort of blowout. And then in 20, 27-6 or whatever it was, Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. It was, you know, a solid beating. It wasn't, anything unbelievable. So it's tough to win in Athens. It's not just an Auburn thing. But I'm old enough to remember back in the day when, Georgia had a hard time with Auburn all the time in Athens. But that was because Auburn, frankly, had better players. So there's that. Hey, couple of announcements. Number one, we will be at Paloma Park Friday from 4 to 7, happy hour. Be there. Paloma Park, downtown in Athens. Be there. Secondly, our friends at Red Zone. These videos don't just get made, y'all. We have support from people. And it's, y'all helping by supporting and getting yourself a nice item. This is nice. As well as going to see our friends at Red Zone. This stuff is, we can't do these videos. I cannot pay to go to Columbia, Missouri and reserve a hotel room only for us not to have the room. What are we doing out there? Like, how does that happen? There's a Seinfeld episode about, you understand how to take the reservation. Yeah, that's what I felt like. But it's like, why, I'm not going to scream at this person. It is always, I just left. But I will never book at Ramada ever. I don't book at Ramada. This is the reason why I don't go away from Marriott, because Marriott gets it right every single time. And anyway, um, this is a big line, and you know, it seems like it's too much, but Georgia playing at home, um, we're going to see how this goes. This is only going to be their second game in Sanford, right? I mean, they've only played. No, excuse me, this will be their third. And they have had decisive wins. They've not been the types of wins that Georgia's wanted, but in both cases they won by 17 points or more. So to say, hey, can they beat Auburn by 4 touchdowns? Yes, I think they can, but I think there is natural skepticism after basically laying a turd on the egg on the road. Can you zone back in? A lot of the diehards who were on dog posts, they were saying, "I'd hate to be the team in practice this week." It didn't make a difference. I mean, Georgia didn't progress. I don't know if they've regressed or not, but they have regressed since the first 3 games. It seems like to me. So it makes sense that they would not be the number 1 team in the country. But this line is a lot. That's a big line. But I will add, in this line's defense, that I think it started at 24 and on Sunday, and it moved up to 28. So it's not always about Georgia. It's about the 2 teams, their matchups, and what are you looking at there? I mean, a season ago, different teams, I know. A season ago, Georgia went over there and won 34-10. So that's 24 points, 34 to 10. It's not really that amazing to say, oh, they'd win by 4 or 5 more points at home. So that may be it. Many people just dismiss this. I mean, Alabama did not look great this past week. I don't know who they're playing, but I would bet on them to cover. So it's just what it is. Las Vegas almost always gets it right.